Hello and welcome to Unshakable with Lovell Casiero. I am delighted to bring a very special guest into the Unshakable room today. My guest is Dr. Ewa Okla, and she is a wonderful light in this world. I will let her tell you her story, but she has an amazing story of resilience and persistence in spite of the fact that she was born with Arthrogryposis Multiplex Congenita, AMC. I'm doing my best to say that. She says it beautifully. But she was born with a condition that means she cannot take care of herself as far as the daily needs that a person would have, getting dressed, feeding themselves. But she, in spite of all of that, works a full-time job. She is a professor at the University of Delaware, and she tutors high school and college students as well. I can't wait to bring her into the room, into the studio, so that you can meet her. I fell in love with her energy, her joy, and the peace she has, and the love that she has found for people and the impact that she is having. Let's get started.
I see hate through the pain. I see light in the rain. Dreams of brighter days. Tell me what you're thinking. I have hope in my spirit, flames of love in my heart. Baby, let me tell you something. I'm about to dance. You realize you're not in control. Once again, tell you once again. Hallelujah. I'm on my way to be the best version of me. Mama knows how to wake you up to dance. Mama knows and other mama knows how to wake you up to dance. Mama knows how to wake you up to dance. Mama knows and other mama knows how to wake you up to dance.
Welcome to Unshakable. I'm so glad to have you here today. And I am delighted to bring your story to Unshakable, the podcast, because you had every reason in the world to just sit back and let life pass you by. And I recently met your brother-in-law, Jason, and he I was trying to tell him that everybody has a story. He does not think he has a story, but he immediately said, you need to meet my sister-in-law. And so I was delighted that he introduced us. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited for this opportunity.
So what brought you to Wilmington, North Carolina? Wilmington, North Carolina. That's where I live. So I live right outside of Wilmington, North Carolina, but very familiar with Delaware in my industry. With the hotel industry, I operated a lot of hotels there, and to include the historical Hotel DuPont. So I love that hotel. It's a great hotel. So what caused you to grow up in Wilmington, Delaware?
Yes, so as you know, I was born with Arthrogryposis Multiplex Congenita, and hemiplegia is the condition that I have. So the reason why I came to Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware specifically, was because of AI DuPont Hospital at that time, which is now Nemours. Nemours was the only hospital in the entire world back in the 80s that was familiar with my condition, and I needed to come here to get the appropriate surgeries, treatment plans, and things like that. Actually, Pope John Paul II was a part of that. He was the one that was able to get me to come to the United States and Delaware. So it was a great opportunity to be able to come here. We weren't planning on staying, but as you can see, 40 years later, we are still here. So that is how
And we're glad you're here. That's interesting. So Pope John Paul II had something that's even a better part of the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us exactly about the AMC. We've already discussed that. I'm not even going to try to say this. So tell me about a little bit about the condition that you have so that people can understand. And I also want to make sure that we, at some point, I want to talk about the organization that is a community for people that have AMC. And Eva, we talked about this before we started recording, but how many people a year are diagnosed, or how common is AMC?
So AMC is in about 1 in 3,000 births, and it depends on what kind of arthrogryposis you have. So, for example, amyoplasia may be 1 in 30,000 individuals. Like we talked before, some people may just be affected in one limb, so they might just have effects in one arm or one leg. The form that I have is I have effect in all 4 limbs, and that is from birth. So basically, to say what it is, it's a muscle weakness where your muscles are not fully developed. So things like lifting your arms may be a challenge, walking, things like that. Your muscles aren't fully built in, causing these types of restraints.
So what is a day in the life of Dr. Ewa Okla like? Tell us how you start your day.
So I start my day with having to needing assistance with ADL, so assistance with daily living activities. I'm unable to get out of bed by myself or get ready for the day, so I do require assistance with those activities. Once I am, up in my wheelchair, showered, ready to go for the day, I start my first role, which is in the insurance industry. I also, as you know, teach as an adjunct, so have to make sure my students are getting all their questions answered. And then I also tutor math students, middle school and high school students. So I have a lot on my plate, but I think keeping myself busy is what motivates me to keep going, and I've always been that way.
So I know that in times when I've gone through situations, one of the people that have always been what I like to say the push behind my drive has been my dad. And I've even had times in my life when I would try to give up. Yes, I think we've all had those times, right, where it just seems so awful that we thought giving up was the only solution. But I would always have my dad who would do tough love, and he would always say, you got to keep going and you can't let this define you. And then my mother had a saying of pull your bootstraps up and keep on going. Who was the push behind your drive? Because I've never had anything in my life as debilitating as what you live through every day. And someone has to, be there saying, live, right? Live your life. Don't give up. And you have created such an amazing life for yourself in the work that you do, in the education that you have. How did you do that?
Honestly, my parents have been my biggest supporters my entire life. First, me and my mom just came here. Like I mentioned, we weren't planning on staying in Delaware. She came not knowing any English, not a single word. So coming to a whole different country, that shows resilience in my mom right there. And then when my mom, met with the doctors, with interpreters, and the 2 or 3 people that she found in Delaware that spoke Polish, that's so funny. They were her interpreters as well. She talked to my dad and said, listen, we need to move here. This is going to be a life changer for our daughter. And that's when my family moved to Delaware. So throughout all of this, my parents have been my strength. Honestly, I've only had caretakers in them. So building out a caretaker team, I know we're going to talk about that probably a little later, is new to me because I've only had my parents. So unfortunately, my mom did pass away a few years ago due to cancer, but my dad is still my number one caretaker. He helps me all day through everything. He's my CTO, Chief Transportation Officer, to all my activities, I call him. And it's been great. Like, I love that I have such a support system because I know that not everyone has such a great support system. So that's very important to have.
And that's the interesting thing as well, that the, I do believe that everybody has a story, and they have a story that has kind of defined who they are and their identity. And we know that, from the ages of 1 to 8, a lot of the person that we will become as an adult is being formed in us. And you were receiving surgery after surgery before you were 10.
Yes, that is correct. I had 10 surgeries before I was 10, and then one additional surgery while I was in school, like at the age around 12, for my back surgery, which is the one that I probably remember the most because my previous surgeries, I was a lot younger, so I don't have recollection of it, but I do have recollection of my back surgery. Missing school, that was a very big thing for me. I love school, so you could probably tell by my degrees that I am a lifelong learner. So even missing one day of school was terrible. So missing a month to recoup from such a big surgery was very hard for me, but I still made sure to get my work done.
I talk about in Lead Like a Girl, the book that I wrote on leadership. I talk about being a lifelong learner, and I have a lot of admiration for people that have the discipline to get as much education as you have. You're just amazing in what you've done. And when you it sounded like when we kind of reached a point that you couldn't, there was really no purpose in you getting any more education, I guess, even though there are always things to learn. You then turned around and started giving back and became a professor. But we did talk about someone who was the push behind your drive regarding, how well you did in school. And I think you said, I remember you saying that was your sister.
Yeah, so I have two sisters, one that's a lot older than me, and then one sister that's 14 months older than me. So I'm the baby of the family. But my sister Anna, definitely was a push to get good grades. She said that I always have to be better. A's aren't good enough. I don't know what can be better than an A, but you may have to ask her that. So I remember I would come home from school, and if I got a B on a test, I would be like, Mom, sign this right up and put it in the back of the binder. But my sister always found it anyway. So I have to thank her for that, because now I get to bring that same force to her kids when I tutor them. And so she's like, oh gosh, look what I created. So yeah, very true.
I love that part of the story. I have 4 sisters, and so and one of them is on my board of directors. I do very little without consulting my sister Joy and getting her opinion. So I love that part of the story. Tell me about how your students respond to you.
So my students at the university level, because I did teach in person as well as online. I do mostly online now, but when I was in person, I think at first it was kind of like they didn't know what to expect. But I think that's in any situation when you meet someone that's different than you, right? You never know what kind of expectations. But I'm very happy to say that based on the reviews that I've received the past 8 years, I feel like my students really can rely on me. They know that I was once a student myself, so I'm always big about grading, as quickly as possible so people know the feedback so they can apply it to future classes. I have a very open door policy, and that's reflected in the results that I see. So I think the past 8 years in teaching various different courses, I have a lot of students that are repeat students, not because they didn't pass, but just because of different classes that I teach. So that's great to see that, a class may only have 5 people, and then like 3 days later, I have 20 people in my class, for example, and even the leadership team's like, how did you get all these people to sign up? And it was a lot of repeat students, so that was awesome to see.
What subjects do you teach?
I teach in the business analytics sector as well as the human resource management area. So I teach an introduction to business analytics course. I teach intro to human resource management, training and development, organizational communication, just to name, probably I would say those are my main ones that I teach each semester or each year.
So we talked about how you start your day, but I know just from us comparing calendars and having our calls, you're a very busy lady. So tell us about your work life and how your day is and your week goes with all these classes that you're teaching, and then also being in the insurance industry. And I think you just recently took a new role in that job. So how do you spend your day?
So organization is key. I love being organized, and I kind of say I'm OCD. I don't know if I'm not diagnosed OCD, but I think I am. But I think being able to stay on track with being organized really helps me with that. So obviously my 9 to 5 job is my insurance job. And then anything from 5 to whenever my day ends, which we never really know, includes making sure that I'm responding to all my students' inquiries, grading, and also tutoring my middle school and high school students, which is just a fun time. I think that's great. I think they learn from me. I learn from them. I'm able to help them with math, but they also see that being different is not a negative thing. And that's why I love tutoring. I do love math. I can't tell you enough how much I love math. But what I really love is being able to work with these students and then being like, wow, you may do things differently. However, we still get A's on our test, and I'm very big on following up with them. They already know to send me their grades once a week. And if they don't, they will be hearing from me. So they're actually pretty good at just sending it, even if they may have not have been as successful as they wanted to be.
So you're teaching how many classes a week? How many classes a week do you teach?
I teach one class a block. So one class every 7 weeks.
Okay.
And that class usually has about 20 to 25 students.
And then you tutor. And you also tutor.
I have about 10 students that I tutor in the evenings, and then work full time. Yes.
Wow. And so what do you do for fun?
So for fun, I love to do Zumba. Obviously my own rendition, because I'm not doing any of the moves that the instructors are doing, but I love the music. I love the vibes. I love to spend time with my family. My older niece and nephew are obviously, they're 26 and 23, so they are living their own life. However, my younger niece and nephew are the stars, honestly. Anytime they visit from North Carolina, it's just nonstop with them. Henry and Lily are amazing. Henry will be...
Where are they in North Carolina?
They're in Charlotte. They're Jason's kids. Yeah, so Jason's kids are...
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So Henry will be your biggest supporter. If I'm ever down, like if I'm ever like, oh, I'm really stressed out or down, he's like, let's pull your name up on Google. Oh, look, here's your name on the article. Oh, here's another one. Yeah, I don't think there's anything to be stressed about. So he is just the number one supporter.
That's awesome. How old are they?
Henry is 11. Oh my gosh, I hope that's right, because if it's not, he's definitely going to yell at me. And Lily is 10. Lily's sassy, and she makes sure that I don't use any kind of disability as a weakness. She'll tell you, I'm like, Lily, can you give me this? She's like, no, you can get it yourself. And if you can't, then I will get it for you. So I love spending time with them. But literally, they are my shining lights. I love going out to new restaurants. I love Broadway shows. I love to be able to give back to the community. So I do toy drives each year for Nemours, kind of as because when I was a little girl, somebody brought me a Teddy Ruxpin, and to this day, I think of that kind gesture. And so I like to do and give back to different communities, including AMC community and Nemours.
Okay. You are my first guest, and you can't make me cry on my podcast, but I always think about these God moments. Just when you start to doubt yourself sometimes, and you think that maybe it's your plan, not God's plan, He sends you a little wink. And I have to stop you and tell you that, first of all, I think it's honorable that you do a toy drive. And I also want to talk about the community with AMC and make sure that we give a shout out to them, because they're people, there are parents that may be facing what your parents faced 40 years ago that do not know. But I have to tell you, I have to just call out this God wink. When I was married very young, and we didn't have a lot of money. And I will never forget one Christmas, we were, my first husband, my daughter's father, and I were not always doing the best. And I remember this one Christmas that she had asked for a Teddy Ruxpin, and they were pretty expensive. I mean, back then, I think they were like, I don't know, $50, somewhere between $50 and $100. It was the toy of the year. And I was not able to afford that. And I bought a whole bunch of stuff, like just a whole bunch of stuff that didn't cost a lot of money. And I spread it out so that it looked like it was a lot of stuff that Santa had brought her. And I will never forget. And she was, I don't know, she was maybe 4 or 5 years old. And she walked over to the fireplace and said, I think Santa forgot something. Or maybe, I said, what are you looking for? She said, I thought maybe he dropped my Teddy Ruxpin. Oh my gosh, my heart was breaking, right? I mean, you can just imagine how that made me feel. But I do think sometimes that when you're launching something like this, and the doubts come in of how it will go over, and then all of a sudden, that's God's voice saying, it's all going to be okay. Because back in the day, my daughter survived not having a Teddy Ruxpin, and I'm pretty sure that eventually she got one. I believe that she did when Meemaw found out that she wanted one. So, but I'm sorry, I kind of stopped us in the middle of this, but I just had to share that. I love God winks. And if I guess what I want to say is if we are watching and listening every day, everybody hears them. You don't have to be raised in ministry. You don't have to go to church every Sunday, but God still speaks in a lot of ways to us. So I couldn't waste a minute of being able to just share that. But I do want to get back to you and this amazing life that you've created for yourself. But what is not part of your life that you would maybe, what gets you down? Because when we were talking before the podcast and I was meeting you for the first time, you brought so much light and joy into the conversation. Like, you had me feeling better than I felt when I started talking to you. But, you know, I said, everybody has a bad day. So what is missing in your life, or what causes a bad day for you?
So I would say some difficulties would be, finding my initial employment. That was very challenging. I think it's challenging for people with disabilities to find employment, for example, because you're coming in for an interview, people don't know your work ethic, things like that. We always say don't judge a book by its cover, but there's always, like, I do a assignment in my class. It's kind of like I give someone a name and I'm like, tell me what their favorite color is, tell me all their favorites, and people do it like in an instant with just knowing someone's name, right? So the purpose of that assignment is to see, like, you may not think you judge books by a cover, but you just made a whole life about someone by just having their name or a picture of them, right? So finding employment was very difficult for me at first. Another challenge, like I said, is building a caretaker team. I work all of these jobs, but still find it difficult to be able to have a caretaking team that I can fully then support monetarily, as well as be able to continue to live the lifestyle that I have. Like I mentioned, I was very fortunate to have, and still am, have my dad helping me. So, I don't have a care team, but, having the resources out there to have additional aid or things like that is very challenging and can definitely put a very big damper on your day, because you think you finally found an opportunity to help you. You're like, this is it. This will be what I need. And you call to see, like, what kind of opportunities, and they're like, oh, you work? Oh, then unfortunately you're not eligible for XYZ services. So that is very disheartening.
Yeah, it is. It's just, that's a whole different podcast, I think, but it is amazing to me how you can need the assistance, but because you make too much money, you can't get the assistance, but you're trying to make sure that you're contributing to society in a huge way. I mean, you're contributing, not just, you're giving back to students with the education that you have. You're working a full-time job, you're tutoring, and you can't get assistance. That baffles the mind. What about companionship?
So I've always been more on the level of success, like meaning success in building my career, building, things like that. Whereas companionship has never been something that was number one on my list. And maybe I just picked the wrong people, right? I don't know. Like, I have dated, so I definitely have been on dates before, things like that, but nothing that really stuck, I would say. And I think it's just because I spend a lot of my focus on other priorities and kind of put that lower on the spectrum. Whereas others with my condition, we mentioned that, focus more on family and things like that, building their own family. And I'm more of the taking what I have and building further my career.
I say this to all women that come to me, and you have been very straightforward about you had your path, you chose what was important to you, and you have found peace in the fact that you may not have companionship. But I always say this to women that are looking for that perfect man, or that man who's looking for that perfect woman: when you stop looking, you'll find them around the next corner, because, that's how it happens. My husband and I were the least likely couple to get together. And one day I'll tell the story of how we met, but we were the least likely couple. I mean, he is a New Yorker, born in Brooklyn, raised in New York, raised in an Italian family. I'm a Southern belle. I still am baffled sometimes as to how we got together in 38 years later, but we weren't looking for each other. And in fact, we were probably trying not to find companionship or find a person to spend the rest of our lives with. So I admire you that you found peace in that, but I think you are a lovely person, and there's someone really missing out on being able to live in your joy every day because, like I said, you just lifted me up when we met for the first time. I was so amazed at how much light you bring into the room. So I do want to talk a little bit about the AMC community and the organization that does support people with this condition. And I'm still not going to try to say it. You say it so beautifully, but I tried, and I'm just not. I don't think I can't even pronounce my own prescription. So they when you call in and you have to say it on the phone to CVS, they always have to call me back to see exactly what I was talking about. But let's talk a little bit about that organization and the community that exists, because as I said, there may be a parent today that is getting that diagnosis, and I would love if God helped them find this podcast and your story, because it is a beautiful story of just not sitting on the sidelines and letting life pass you by. And I'm very proud of you for that. Not that you need me to be proud of you, but I'm very proud of you for that.
Well, thank you so much. So yes, the community is great. It was started by a parent who had no idea about the diagnosis and now has flourished into a whole organization. AMCSI, so if you want to visit their website, it's amcsupport.org. They will help you with everything. I mean, there's resources galore. There's doctors in every state. There's testimonials from adults, for parents to be like, this, may seem like a challenge, but there's a beautiful light at the end of the tunnel. Take some opportunities to review those resources. Even if you don't have AMC, you might learn a lot about it. Like maybe that's a field that you want to study in. We definitely need more research in that area. A lot of research has been developed. So now people that are born with arthrogryposis have a way higher percentage of being able to walk. And even sometimes even being able to walk without braces. So there's been a lot of medical advances. It's funny, I came here from Poland, but now people are going to Poland for, further treatments. So it's a full circle effect. I think I came here. Maybe I had something to do with people going back to Poland. I'm kidding. I didn't, but I like to just take that little
maybe you did.
But AMC support is great. They have an annual conference in different locations, so people are able to go meet with one another and just really be able to not have to answer what is your condition, like what ails you. It's like we already know that. So what do you like to do for fun? Like, should we go out for dinner later? So it's just like a normal community where you can build friendships, but also have the resources there for the parents that are really in a uncertain position with not knowing how their child will do in school. Will they go to school? Will they be able to set goals and achieve them? All those things. So I think the community is a great one.
Yeah, and it is a it is interesting to me how much in need the medical profession is right now with professionals going into medicine. I think COVID and the years of COVID really put a damper on people's desire to go into a medical field. So it's a calling, and I love that you gave that shout out, because the more research and the more that we know, the more that we can be able to create a life that's better for the people that come after you as far as physically. You have a wonderful life, and you've been very blessed to have people who love you and take care of you, and you have contributed amazingly to society and the work that you do and the students that you impact. And I just think, I'm so glad that I know you and I'm able to bring this. And I thank you for being my very first guest. And I'm going to have to get in touch with Jason and thank him for not being willing to tell his own story, but being willing to tell your story. And he loves you so much. I sat at dinner with him and listened to him just rave about what a wonderful person you are and all of the accomplishments that you have. And I live a very faith-based life, and I know that somehow the path that you will take to find that team as your father gets older, and the path that you will take to find that team, I know that God knows exactly who those people are. And while you may not have met them yet, God knows exactly who they are. And I know you know this, but we never have to worry about whether he's going to make a way, because when he has a plan, he has provisions. And so I know that from experience. I'm lucky. I said I live outside of Wilmington, North Carolina. I actually live in a sleepy beach community. And when I walk out to the water and I stand by the ocean and I watch the waves roll in and back out and roll in and back out, and they never stop, right? They never just come to a stop. And I know I stand there and I say to myself, you know what, Ewa, if God can do all that, and there's so much more, like there's birds flying in the sky, there's fish under the sea that we don't even see or know, there's people with their children playing on the beach, all that he has created. But even if you just took something as massive and complicated as the ocean itself, if he's got that, he's got us. And so when I get anxious or start to worry about whether I'm going to be able to accomplish the things that I have or the vision that I have, I know that I take myself back to those waves rolling in on the ocean. And I know that if God's got that, he's got me and he's got you. And he's got the people who are watching this today that believe that they're in a place of, like I have been in my life, where giving up seemed to be the only choice. But as I always say, I love this. I love to say that for every setback, it can become your greatest comeback, and that God will make a way for you. He made you as beautiful as you are. And there is no imperfection in what God does. And so the impact, not only that you have as an educator and the impact that you have on the people that you serve in the insurance industry, the impact that you have on people who are going through, even my uncle, we were laughing that, not laughing, but he was joking today that he has all these doctor's appointments. He travels every day. He's 80. He has the best mindset of someone who has so many health issues, but he keeps on going. And that's what you did. And you didn't sit back and say, well, this is my life and I can be like, peace out. You decided to be a contributor to and impact a lot of people. And I am just amazed by your story. So as we start to wrap up today, what do you want to, what is the final thing that you want people to know about you, about if someone out there is that person that's getting that news today? Maybe it's not AMC. Maybe it's, stage 4 cancer. Maybe it's, something like Lou Gehrig's disease, which I'm also very familiar with, having had a roommate one time that was diagnosed with that. But what do you want people to know?
So, for my final thoughts, I know that there will be moments out there that things may seem harder, and they are. That's fair. You're going to experience a time that may be a challenge in your time or a challenge in your life. But don't let somebody convince you because of that challenge that you're less capable, because you're not. And one more thing I would say is to always be relentless about your goals, because sometimes people may doubt you, but you should never doubt yourself.
I love that. Sometimes people may doubt you, but never doubt yourself. I was at a conference recently, and I made a note of some of the quotes people were saying when they were speaking. And it was a group of women leaders in the hospitality industry. And I wrote down, doubt your doubt. That's the only thing you should doubt, right? Doubt your doubt. So I do want to thank Dr. Ewa Okla today for being my guest. And if you are not following this podcast, please do, so that you can meet many more people who have a story. And as I say, everybody has a story. Just ask yourself, is your story one that you would also like to bring to this podcast, to the Unshakable podcast? And I would love to have you as my guest. All you have to do is wait for, don't scroll away just yet. Wait for the graphic to come up at the end. You have 3 ways that you can contact me to tell me your story. And again, I just want to thank my very special guest and my first guest. Thank you for being my first guest and bearing with me through all of the setup. And but I also want to just thank Ewa for her authenticity. Like she's an open book, and I love that. If you know me, you know I love authenticity. And I just thank her for being willing to share her story. And I know that she'll be a great impact on someone that is going through something. So until we meet again through this podcast, as I always say, be you, be safe, and be loved. God bless.
I see hate through the pain. I see light in the rain. Dreams of brighter days. Tell me what you're thinking. I have hope in my spirit, flames of love in my heart. Baby, let me tell you something. I'm about to dance. You realize you're not in control. Once again, tell you once again.